Welcome back to another Sunday prep day. If you're new here, every Sunday I prep for the week. So that means cutting all my vegetables and making things that take a little bit longer. So today I'm going to make some pulled pork for several meals and some keto barbecue sauce. So we're just going to get to chopping and then we'll go over the meal plan. So I'm starting off by cutting up some yellow onions. I have two, and those are going to go in my pulled pork and in my keto barbecue sauce. So let's see, for lunch today on Sunday I'm having some sandwiches. I have some whole wheat rolls. I have some chicken breast. I have some lettuce. I have some cucumber. So I'll build some nice sandwiches out of that. And here's the part where I tell you that usually I eat low-carb, keto-friendly lunches because I'm diabetic and have to cut some carbs. But I do have sandwiches on the weekend. Those are my cheat days, because sandwiches are pretty good. So, and also, you won't hear me mention breakfast because I don't usually have breakfast. Just not a breakfast person. Just don't like the idea of shoving food in my face first thing in the morning. So, then for dinner tonight, I'm gonna have some burgers. So, some ground beef. I'll make some patties out of those. I have some nice fresh baked rolls, some lettuce, some pickles. I might actually use some of their barbecue sauce. We'll just see. And the reason I'm making that keto barbecue sauce is essentially because I want to use it for a lunch as well. And those will be low carb, not high in sugar. So even though not all my meals are going to be low carb because I have regular dinners, it's just I'll just make one sauce. So I'm just dicing up one onion and I'll slice one up. These red onions. So yeah, that was Sunday. For Monday, Meatless Monday, for lunch I'm gonna have some eggs. And I'll do like a frittata kind of thing. So eggs and lots of veggies. And maybe a little bit of cheese. So I'll do peppers, I'll do onions, garlic, chilies, some carrot, some spring onions, etc. And then for dinner, I'm gonna do some vegetarian quesadillas. Basically the same as I did last week, but last week I made tacos. I didn't add cheese, but this time I will add some shredded cheese to that, make it a quesadilla. That's yeah. I kind of been into the vegan and vegetarian tacos lately, so I've been having those a lot on Meatless Mondays. Then Tuesday for lunch, I'm gonna do some chicken lettuce wraps. Have some ground chicken. I'll saute that with some of the veggies, like the onions I'm slicing up right now, or the ones I've diced rather. Some peppers, some chilies, garlic, etc. And I'll do that in some lettuce wraps. Then for dinner, I'm going to do some pulled pork tacos or maybe even quesadillas. So I'll use that pulled pork that I'll be making. I'll use the keto barbecue sauce, even though the meal is not going to be keto or keto friendly. I'm just slicing up some spring onions just for garnish, really. Then we're on Wednesday for lunch. I'm gonna have some Brussels sprouts sauteed with bacon and veggies. So the usual suspects again: carrots, onions, garlic, chilies, peppers, and bacon. That's been my one of my go-tos lately, because Brussels sprouts have been in season and really cheap. So I've been using them a lot. And if you don't like Brussels sprouts, try sautéing them. They're a lot better that way. I never used to like the Brussels sprouts, but now I actually do. So I'm just cutting up some garlic for my barbecue sauce, for my eggs, for my Brussels sprouts, lettuce wraps, etc. Then we were on Wednesday dinner. For lunch, not for lunch, for dinner, I'm gonna do a rice bowl with pulled pork and that barbecue sauce. And I'll do lime cilantro rice. And I might have some corn with that. We'll just see what I'm in the mood for. And then we are on Thursday. For lunch, I'm gonna do some pulled pork lettuce wraps. That's why I wanted the sauce low carb. And then, let's see, these 3 cloves I'll just leave whole because they're going to go in my barbecue sauce and my pulled pork, so they don't need to be super fine. Let's see. So pulled pork lettuce wraps. Then for dinner, I'm gonna do some green beans with some potatoes and a pork chop. I'll probably bake that pork chop. I'm not gonna cut the potatoes just yet because that potatoes kind of dry out by the time it hits Friday. So, but the rest I will prep. Let's julienne some carrots. I'm just using my julienne slicer just because it's easier and faster and more even. And this is for the tacos, the eggs, the Brussels sprouts, etc. And then we were on Friday. So for lunch for Friday, I'm gonna have some salmon with some broccoli probably. Though as always, the veggies I can change around, like I can have the green beans instead, I can have the broccoli, we'll just see. Then for dinner on Fish Friday, I'm gonna have some fish and chips with some green beans. So I'll probably actually just use some fries for that. I could do some potato wedges, but I have some fries in the freezer. And I kind of want to empty my freezer, so because I need to defrost it, so I'll probably use those, but I could still decide to do potato wedges. But again, I'm not prepping those just yet because those tend to dry out. So I'm just cutting up these peppers for the quesadillas, the eggs, the Brussels sprouts, etc. So I'm just doing this red one, and I have a green one that really needs to be used up, so I'll do that as well, and I'll just use a little bit extra pepper this week. But yeah, I'll dice it up just the same. Next up, I have a bunch of chilies. The red one is gonna go in my barbecue sauce, and the other ones I'll use for my Brussels sprouts, for my eggs. I'll throw some in my pulled pork as well. And I'll use some in my lettuce wraps. So, red one, I'm not going to bother de-seeding. That's the cayenne. The jalapenos, I will take the seeds out just because there's a lot more seed. And I'll just give those a quick slice. Then next up, I have some tomatoes for my barbecue sauce. Yes, you can absolutely use tomato paste, but I'm using fresh tomatoes just because they're on sale and I can. So I'm just cutting these into chunks just so they cook down a little bit quicker. You don't have to be super precious about it. Then next up for my sandwiches, I want some cucumber, so I'm just going to slice one up. Then next up, some cilantro for my lime cilantro rice. I'm just going to give that a rough chop first. Just take all the leafy parts off, and I leave the stems. I save those for things like curry paste, and this I'll just run my knife through a bit more until everything is nice and fine. Next up, I have some broccoli. I'll just cut these into some florets, and I'm gonna do enough for 2 portions, so that's this entire head, and I'm gonna save the stems for things like broccoli rice. And bigger pieces like this, just cut in half. Alright, that's broccoli done. Next up, I have a whole bunch of green beans. I'll just take off the ends, take out the loose outer leaves, cut in half, and that can go in a container, and I'll just do that with a whole batch, enough for one nice big portion. Keep in mind, I'm not having any carbs with this, so no fillers, so I can do quite a lot of Brussels sprouts. Alright, that's a nice generous portion of Brussels sprouts. And then the last thing for chopping before we get to the barbecue sauce and the pulled pork is some green beans. And I'm gonna do 2 nice generous portions. Okay, quick time check. We're at 30 minutes and I have all my veggies chopped for the week, so I don't have to worry about that the rest of the week. So I'm just gonna quickly put some things away, and then we'll get started on the barbecue sauce and the pulled pork. So while I put things away, I'm also gonna preheat both of my Ninja Foodies on saute. So both my Ninja Foodies have preheated on saute. I'll add a little bit of oil to both. And I'm using my Ninja Foodies because I'm using the pressure cooker function, which makes things a lot faster, but you can absolutely just do it in a slow cooker or on top of a stove or whatever you need. So in Ninja Foodie number 1, I'm gonna put some stewing pork, just regular old stewing pork, big chunks, and I'll add a bit of salt. And I'm just looking for a little bit of color on that. I don't need to cook it all the way through, but a little color is some added flavor. In my other Ninja Foodie, I'm gonna put about 1 onion's worth of yellow onion, so about half of what we prepped. I'll put in some garlic, some chilies, and why not, we'll do a little bit of diced peppers. I'm using the red just for color reasons. And I'll put in my chunks of tomato. And again, I'll add a little bit of salt to help that cook down. And I just want those vegetables to soften. And now that the pork has a little bit of color, I'm gonna add 3 whole cloves of garlic. And I'll add 1 yellow onion slice, and I'll add some jalapenos as well, just for some spice. And I'll give those a chance to soften. Okay, the vegetables in both of these have softened. So for my pork, so that's again pork, onions, garlic, jalapenos, I'm gonna add a bit of water, enough to mostly cover the meat, and I'll add a glug of apple cider vinegar. That will give some flavor, but also the acid will help the meat become more tender. And then I'm gonna switch it from saute to pressure cook, and I'll do 30 minutes. Lid on, make sure the valve is closed, and 30 minutes, then the pork should be falling apart. How long it takes kind of depends on how big the chunks of meat are. So in my case, they're about this size, so that's 30 minutes-ish. And then my vegetables for my barbecue sauce have softened as well, so that's tomatoes, chilies, a little bit of pepper, onions, and garlic. I'll add a little bit of water to that, but not too much. Since I've used fresh tomatoes, there's a lot of liquid in that already, unlike something like tomato paste, which is very concentrated, so all the water is cooked out. So I don't need that much water. And again, for flavor, I'll use some apple cider vinegar. I'll add some Worcestershire sauce. I'll add some smoked paprika for a nice smoky flavor, and some chipotle powder for the same reason. Not too much because it can be quite spicy and I already have chilies in there. And then the last thing to add to my keto barbecue sauce is some sugar substitute. Traditionally, you would use a brown sugar. I don't have brown sugar substitute, I just have regular sugar substitute. And how much sugar you put in kind of depends on how much vinegar you put in. Then I will take my pressure cook lid and I will cook that for 20 minutes until the tomatoes have completely fallen apart. So the pork is done. I just scooped that out and shredded that real quick. And then my barbecue sauce is also done, but because I use a lot of fresh ingredients, it's quite chunky. So I'm just going to use my stick blender and just give that a quick lick. And that's the barbecue sauce done as well. So I can let that cool down a bit, and that can go in the fridge for several meals this week. So that was all the prep work for this week. I can now have lunch or dinner on the table in minutes. And if you like this kind of content, I do this every single Sunday. And if you'd like to see what I do with this, you can check out my Instagram where I post every single meal. On Instagram, you'll also find my meal plan and all the ingredients that you'll need for the whole week, including things that I haven't prepped yet. You'll find that on there. And you can also check out the video that I post about once a month on here where I show you everything I eat in a day for a whole week. So if that all sounds good to you, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching. Until next time, bye for now.